Hey, this is Liz, and you're listening to the SouthCack Syndicate Podcast.
Episode 11.
Number 11.
We're back.
Current temperature 87 degrees in the beautiful town of Walhalla, South Carolina.
It's actually pretty nice. Seasonably warm, right? It's some record-breaking
Well,
tomorrow or
last
something?
week messed everybody up, right? So we got in the 60s. I woke up to 49 degrees on the mountain one morning.
It
I
felt
was like,
great.
fall is here. Just got back from Columbia the other day. It was 98, 95 down there.
Yeah.
It's like summer's back. And I think we drop again. We hadn't had rain in
Bristol,
probably 2 weeks.
Bristol was perfect.
Yeah.
It was slightly warm during the day, but you weren't sweating. Slightly chilly at night. Fire weather. Camping
love
weather.
fall.
It was perfect.
Fall is my favorite season.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't last long enough. That's the problem.
No, but I'm okay with winter too. Now that I'm not living in the Midwest, because winter in the Midwest, I mean,
Rough, yeah.
It just sucks.
Yeah. You got to
So-
bury the hatchet.
It's terrible.
Bat in the hatchet, not bury the hatchet. You got to bat in the hatchet.
That too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hottest summers and coldest winters.
Yeah.
Thank you, Illinois.
Yeah.
It was miserable. You had great spring, great fall, harvest festivals going on, big deal. Like,
Hey, you still got some contacts up there for some whitetail, mule deer or something?
there's no muleys in Pike County, Illinois. But
Whitetails?
Yep. Caleb, when you hear this, reach out to Kyle via email.
Let's do a trip. I'd be
Yeah.
down for that 100%.
So my boy Caleb up there, he's a big whitetail guy, even bigger duck guy.
Oh, yeah?
He loves to bird hunt.
That's
duck
cool.
hunt.
I
So
think I would like duck hunting. I've never done it, but I think I would like it.
I talked about heading up there and doing duck. I lived up there 15 years.
Yeah.
Never sat in a deer stand, and never flooded a field with duck hunting.
We'll see how this year goes. This is my first year with a bow, and I've already told Savannah she can sit in the stand with me tomorrow. Not tomorrow, Saturday morning. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I've got, and there's some outfitters up there. If you want to pay to play, then you can do that. Like,
Well, I had a trip lined up for Kentucky, end of November, and they ran out of spots. My brother-in-law's going; they go every year, and so
Yeah.
I guess that they had already kind of allowed 4 spots for him.
yeah.
I think I was like the 5th guy or something,
Yeah.
and then when you hit him up, they're
Like a lodge hunt, like where it's all inclusive.
yes,
Dude, I mean, I love to fly fish. That's about all I do by myself.
Yeah.
I love to duck hunt, but there's nothing like a all-inclusive trout trip. Or I go to South Dakota every year.
yeah.
So that's coming up here in next month. And
Yeah, I think he says they, stands, everything. They give you your own, 40, 100, I don't know how many acres, but each group has their own acreage to
Yeah.
hunt. So nobody's
Yeah.
like coming
On
in
top
on
of each
you.
other,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you bring them back. They process the deer for you. They
Oh,
cook you
sweet.
dinner. Everything's all inclusive. So
yeah, South Dakota, our pheasant hunts that way, and you don't pay, or I'm like, you definitely pay for it, but you don't worry about anything.
While
If-
you're there.
If you want a special bourbon or whiskey for your trip, they will make sure it's there on site when you arrive.
sweet.
It is every single thing you can think of included.
Is that the one I overheard you planning with your father-in-law?
Yeah. Neil actually
Good
got
time.
me invited on that trip, and now it's just like,
You're taking it
you're
over.
coming every year. Let's go. Let's do this. So
Right on.
me and Bruce, there's about 6 of us to go every year. It's just, I wouldn't.
Never in a million years would I thought me and you'd be sitting here talking about what we're talking about right now.
Well, I was listening to episode 10 on our way back from Columbia, and I even said, if anybody knew Kyle in high school or grew up with Kyle and thought we would ever talk deer hunting
Yeah.
or bows, like they'd just be shaking their head going, no way.
I mean, I enjoy all of it. I've always enjoyed fishing. I just never make time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the kind that you do because it's a little more commitment level. You have to actually drive and hike and get in the water. Like my kind of fishing right now is where I can take my boys to
farm pond and throw a bobber out.
a buddy of mine's pond. We'll fish with lures or whatnot. But like my thing is, I'd hate to spend 3 hours getting to the place where you fish.
Oh, yeah.
And then the boys last 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hungry, Dad, or I'm... And then it's like, whereas I can take them to a farm pond, it's in.
Yeah.
When they're done, we're out.
Yeah.
And they've got their fill. So anyway.
They'll grow up.
Yeah, they will. You're right.
They'll grow up. So fall is in the air. That's good. That's good. So today we had a special guest planned, and right at the last minute, I had a cancellation.
Really last minute.
probably 15 minutes before go time.
Yep.
Had a cancellation, but we will have him back on soon.
I will tell you, speaking of that, just a little side note. I think, when we decided to start this podcast, I think arranging guests was not something that I felt like was going to be an issue.
Yeah.
And it has been our biggest challenge.
One of them, yeah. But one of the things we don't do is go far off in the calendar, right? Because
but even if we did, like today.
Yeah. We'd have had a cancellation either way with this.
Yeah.
And this was just a uncontrollable circumstance.
Right.
But I don't mind guess, Jared and Kyle.
Yeah.
Because when we started the podcast, like you said, it was like, we can have guests in. But we really, in my mind, we started it to be a conversation between Kyle and Jared. Yeah. So I don't mind these days. I always get something out of when we do have a guest. And last week got bourbon.
Yeah.
Right.
Fantastic. I almost brought it back today.
We have something on the show.
Well, I almost brought some of that. Not Pappy. What was it? The
Rip.
Rip.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have enough to share. I'd have felt bad if I'd have brought it and just,
Yeah.
So anyway.
And so as we were listening to Kutu's podcast on the way back from Columbia, he said something about SouthCack Mojo. Man, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Man, I had a closing this week.
Yeah. Congrats on that.
It's a thing.
That's right.
Mojo's good.
You got another one coming up soon, don't you? Don't you have 2 in the books in a row?
Yeah. I've had 2 in the past, 20 days.
This one and that one?
Yeah.
Oh, so they're already both closed.
Yeah. Well, the front end.
Gotcha.
And then I've owner financed it for them.
Gotcha.
And then we'll do 2 more closings after the first year. Yeah. But it's weird because this is the first real estate on Main Street, Walhalla that I've ever let go of. And I thought I'd feel bad about it. Well,
in your defense, you didn't have any sentimental value on both of those.
Not really.
None. In my personal opinion, you didn't have, you bought them for your own reasons.
That's right.
But you didn't have any sentimental, you didn't have a big idea in either one of them really.
Yeah.
Which is what you had in these.
Yeah. And I kept the air rights to the other one.
Yeah.
So,
which is why you bought it.
The only reason I bought that first one was just for the rooftop.
Yeah.
So I kept that in the closing either way. It was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I feel all parties involved feel like everybody won.
I think everybody
got
did
what
win.
they want. I got what I want.
I think everybody won.
And Walhalla won the most.
Yeah.
Right? Because now we have legitimate upper class or upper level comps for anything else to be lendable.
Not only that, it's not just a leased space where it's going to the door is going to rotate. Like both of those people are going to have businesses they own
of their own
in those buildings. They're going to stay there. They're going to be they're going to continue the staple right here in Walhalla.
That's right.
And just
it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Walhalla's growing. Motor, look out, man.
Yeah, I hear you. We need to get him on.
Seneca is can't keep up.
We need to get Mulder on.
And we ain't even talking about what council or administrator's doing, right? It's just straight up private equity groups moving the needle here.
Well, that goes back to not anything against, our government officials, because I think the ones locally are doing a pretty good job, at least ones you just spoke of. But I still think that government in any form moves so much slower and less efficient.
Drives me insane.
Than private equity. And the best way, in my personal opinion, a lot of people don't like capitalism because they feel like somebody's making all the money, but they are. But that's fine, because when they're doing what they do, they grow everything. All those that rising tide lifts all boats.
Oh, no doubt.
Right. So it's everybody gets to take advantage of that. They may not be, one person might be making the most, but they're putting in all the risk, they're putting in all the work, and everybody else gets to float with that.
People think capitalism is just a bad word.
Yeah, I think it's a good word.
So just to clarify, the true definition of capitalism is an economic and political system in which a country's or city's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than by the state.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I think people have a problem. We talked about this with Kutu.
Yeah.
People have a problem with other people's success. And there's something wrong.
Can't stand it.
There's something wrong with that.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I get that there are nooks and crannies of people who get left behind, and it's not fair. I get that. But what I will tell you is in a capitalist society, where it's working properly, and the people that are building that society are doing the right thing, like the ones we're talking about, like what we do.
Sure.
I think everybody benefits. I don't care what level it is, even if it's down to the lowest level. Those people are getting more help in that society versus if one person controlled the whole thing and there was no growth. The food banks wouldn't be as good. The churches wouldn't be as profitable. The tithing that comes into the churches, which then flows out to the community, wouldn't be as good. I mean, you look at it from every single aspect of that community, it benefits from it growing, no matter how it grows.
That's right. As long as you stay growing, right?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that can kill a town is when old money stays in place. Not stays in play, but stays in place. So
or they don't.
If you've got an owner and in a small town and they own more than 50% of the retail buildings or housing on Main Street.
Yeah, and they're not doing anything with it.
And they're not doing anything with it. Cities get scared
Stagnant.
of that. That's right.
Yeah.
That doesn't help anybody.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
when old money gets stagnant, yeah.
That's right. So that doesn't help anybody. But other than that, it's like when new money comes in, it's like flowers pop up out of nowhere. The trees get greener. Like and I remember when I bought in 2015, we were just coming in here and there was nobody on the sidewalks.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a town you felt like you wanted to go visit.
No, it was a town that I felt like I wanted to give back to.
Yeah.
Because it needed giving back to.
This town was not one that you just had an interest to just go walk town.
If I wasn't from here, I'd never come here.
Yeah. But now it's one of those towns where I'm like, man, it'd be cool to live right there.
Sure.
Now, the thing is, too, is what you have those people that invested in a town. They have skin in the game. Then you have elected officials that don't have any skin in the game in most times, that want to make ordinances or rules for those towns.
Cracks me up.
That doesn't benefit.
Because
the most benefit's going to come. Yeah. The best benefit's going to come from those folks who actually have skin in the game.
We have risk. We have a lot of risk. And so when desk clerks want to make rules or regulations without even speaking to the people who invested over $1 million or invested any bucks.
Yeah. Well, what's sad is that really the townspeople, the building owners should control what happens. Right?
Yeah.
Because
I
they
agree.
basically own the town.
Yeah. They say that we put a hurt on this town. I think the town put a hurt on itself.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
The town definitely put a hurt on itself.
They should work it like a business. If you own
I totally agree. But here's the first thing that everybody will say: you can't run a municipality, or I've heard Ms. Brock say it, or a county like a business. No offense to anybody.
You can't run it like a business, but this is the way I look at it. Well, go ahead, finish your thought, because I think
your business points are still the same.
Yeah,
you got to balance your budget at the end of the year. You got to give incentives out to grow. You've got to be able to be willing to scale.
Yeah.
And you've got to have vision. Everything that we do in our business is the same thing that a city or municipality needs to do.
Yeah.
Because when we're investing so much of our livelihood in here, we're not the only ones that benefit.
Yeah.
The people that walk up and down the streets benefit. The city gets more tax revenue.
Yeah.
The assessment goes up because we've raised the millage rate.
Right.
All the city looks at is going to cost me more money because we've got more people. I need more police officers.
Yeah.
We've got more housing. I need more water meters. And they look at it like a pain in their ass instead of an opportunity.
Yeah. And it is an opportunity.
That's what truly is aggravating.
See, and the problem is, too, because if you ain't careful, you can kill it down. And it'll go the opposite way. And now you don't have anything. You don't have a budget. You don't have, because you're broke.
By putting ridiculous ordinances in.
See, my thing is, I'm not talking about this town in particular, but just in general, their job should be to make sure that everything's safe, secure, infrastructure is up to par.
That's right.
Like all that stuff. And then business-wise, they should kind of let it be free reign unless it crosses one of those things. If it interferes with security or if it interferes with infrastructure.
Sure.
Right? But I mean, let it grow, let it turn into what it should be, right? I think the best towns in the world, cities, small cities, the reason that the best ones are the best is because they've done that. The communities come together, they've built this town, most of them have a theme or whatnot to them, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then, so anyway, kind of off tangent.
No, I like where we're going with that, though.
Yeah.
So they actually named this little greenway.
They named it.
Oh, yeah.
Ketterman Way.
No, it's like Wahala, Walter Wager. Wallaweggy. What?
Really?
It's some kind of we're a German town, right, with a lot of German heritage. So, one of the names, Wahala Wanderweg.
So was it voted on, or somebody just said nope?
I'm sure council voted on it. It's fine, but wonder why it's called Wanderweg. The word Wanderweg is German for trail or footpath.
Oh, that makes sense.
It does make sense. Wahala Wanderweg. Yeah.
So back to what I was kind of talking about. You know, if you own a lot of shares in a business, you get voting rights on what that business does.
That's right.
And I think business owners in town should be the same way. They should take
Makes total sense.
They should take the total value of the entire town. They know that because they charge you taxes based on that value.
That's right.
And then they should break you up based on how much of that value you own, and you get that much voting rights. Now, that may be towards elected officials, right? Mm-hmm. That may be towards ordinances that are going to pass, whatever.
Happen.
I know. That's what it should be, though.
Or at least not voting right, but opinion right. At least let me speak my piece, right? But not in public comment. So every council meeting they have, or any town have, I'm not just picking here.
Yeah.
There's a chance for the public to stand up and say their piece. Well, 9 times out of 10, a citizen will speak, and then the council does not have to answer or reply.
Yeah, so they're just silent.
Comment.
Yeah.
It's just silent. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And they move on. Sometimes never addressing the issue ever.
Yeah. Never bring it up, nothing.
Right. Not just in city. It goes county, goes for most boards, anywhere there's public elected officials. Right.
Yeah.
The other not confusing, and I'm not even going to say I disagree with it, but it's a talking point. I don't have a vote in Wahala for our elected officials. Right.
Is that because
I'm out of city limits.
But you own business here? That doesn't
matter.
Really?
Yeah.
Says wrong.
Well, and like I said before I said that statement, it's not that I disagree with it. It's not that I agree with it. It's just sometimes I'm over here just beating my head against the wall.
Let me ask you this, though. Do you pay city tax? Property tax?
I pay property tax. I pay accommodations tax. I pay water bill. I pay utility. I pay a lot to the city of Wahala.
You should get some kind of voting rights, I would think.
You should, but you don't.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's because it's confusing. You know, everything has to funnel through a certain format, right? And if you live here, this is who you are, and this is how this works for you.
Yeah.
We can't give you this and that.
No, that's right. Then I would dare to say that's a state mandate, right? If you don't live in the city limits, you don't get to vote.
So
that's probably maybe even federal.
I heard a rumor. You might move to Wahala.
I did buy a house on Main Street. We do have an election coming up. I won't.
I was talking about so you can run.
Yeah, I was too.
Oh, I thought you meant just so you could vote here.
No.
Oh.
I won't confirm.
Yeah, or deny. All right.
Or deny.
Yeah.
It's too soon.
I feel you.
And Megan's got an election coming up.
I think you'd be a fabulous role in whatever that was within.
Well, there's a lot of seats coming up here in our small town.
Yeah.
At this election. So I know 2 seats. I know 2 guys that are going to fill 2 seats or are going to run, and I feel pretty confident they're going to get in. I don't feel that I have to serve.
As long as you can help
as long as my fellow man who I put a lot of trust and respect in.
That thinks the way you do about the city.
Is serving.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so, if you can help get people on in those seats that see this city the way you see it.
Yep.
That's a win. Then you don't even have to do the work necessarily.
Yeah, and they're also invested in town.
Yeah.
So it's like it makes sense to support our friends that can do a good job and they're relocating their families to Main Street or they're already here in the city limits than it does for me to come off the mountain
Yeah.
just to run and move to Main Street and then just have a vacation home in Mountain Rest.
Yeah.
That doesn't make much sense. But I'm to the point now where if I don't trust who's in the seat to do the job.
Yeah. I mean, your livelihood's at stake.
Well, I've always said if you have the ability, then you have the responsibility to make a difference.
Yeah.
In any aspect. And this is one of those aspects where it really does make sense. I have the ability. Do I have the responsibility to do this? Not if I've got respectable people in those seats.
Well, your responsibility may not be you. Your responsibility may be to help.
I agree. I agree with that 100%. That's right.
So as long as you make change in some form or fashion, doesn't necessarily have to mean you're sitting in that seat. But
that's right. I was talking to so I come back from Columbia, had a meeting with our
how'd that go?
Amazing Lieutenant Governor the other day.
I want to hear about it.
So we're sitting in her office talking Main Street stuff,
right?
And economic impact of small business in the state of South Carolina. And to be honest, for our state of South Carolina, small business is the fabric of South Carolina. So a lot of people think we're a manufacturing state, and we are. BMW's here, Boeing's here. It's big. These are not small companies. But where South Carolina lives and breeds are the 400 companies that support BMW.
Right.
Machine shops, paint shops, manufacturing.
Right, making seats, making seat belts, making...
That's right. So good talk. But being in the State House, so nobody's in session, so we got to go through the House chambers, Senate chambers. It was really cool. But it really just put me in a political mindset for a minute.
Yeah.
So on the way back, it's only two and a half hours there maybe.
Yeah, 2.5 hours.
So on the way back, I just was on the phone a good bit with some other people who are elected officials already, county, state, other counties, other states, just telling my experience and blah, blah, blah. And then one of the guys said, I don't know how we got on the topic. He said, we need to end the super PAC. And if you don't live, let's take the city, because we're talking about city right now. If you don't live in the city, you shouldn't be allowed to give money to people, to officials that are running for the city.
Yeah, because what interest do you have in what they're doing?
That's right.
Yeah.
If you don't live in the state, then you shouldn't be able to give money to the people that are running for House and Senate.
Or have a business there. So I kind of get the business side of it, right?
I get the business side, but it brings up we wouldn't have super PAC money or war chest if the people in the municipality could only raise for those people.
Yeah.
But to your point, the people that have invested a good bit should have some kind of sponsorship towards the people that they think is going to do a good job managing their asset.
Right.
And their vision of growth. But enjoyed Columbia, had a good dinner.
Yeah. So I talked to you a little bit on your way back or after you got back, I guess. And it spawned some ideas from some upcoming episodes that we think will be very entertaining. So stay tuned for that. We've got, 2 guests potentially?
Yeah. Spoke with Gresham Barrett. A lot of people listening to our particular podcast would know our former congressman, Gresham Barrett. And I'm standing in the State House under the big dome, and I'm looking at all these quotes on the wall and all these oil-painted pictures, and it just takes you back. And I did the same thing when I went to the Capitol in Washington. And it's like people just don't talk that way anymore.
Yeah.
And
people don't feel that way anymore. The way you felt in that building.
Oh my God. Like Washington
patriotic.
changed.
Your level of patriotism went way up.
When Gresham gave us a tour of our United States Capitol, and we went through the whole thing, and he's a former congressman, so there's no room we didn't have access to.
Right.
And the quotes on the wall and the floor and the rotunda, man, I came out of there more of an American than I have ever been. So when it got stormed, right, and the guy in the buffalo head, man, I was so pissed off.
Because I was
just pissed.
Yeah.
We went in after dinner, probably 10:30 at night, and had to go through 3 checkpoints.
Yeah, you say stormed, though.
They were let in.
Yeah,
because we had to go through 3 checkpoints at 11 o'clock at night.
Now.
Nobody got in that place, right? So I'm standing.
Well, the fact that getting in is one thing, but the fact that they let dude just sit up there and take pictures is another thing. Like, If it was truly secure, they'd have been tackling them in the highways.
I don't have faith in my federal government after that.
Yeah.
If they can't protect their own house, how are they protecting
They can
mine?
protect it. They didn't want to. They just let them in.
So being in the state house, I felt more of a South Carolinian than I've ever felt in my life. I even told Megan that day, I was like, I feel this really strong need to serve.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, have fun in Columbia. Because
I'm not going.
I'm not doing that.
They need to move it.
They ain't doing that. You're crazy.
It's kind of a catch-22 because, this country has things that we're not proud of. Just like every country. I mean,
of course,
everything comes down that, and history plays out in a way where, you realize those things weren't right. But I also feel like everybody should be extremely educated on the history of this country for that exact reason that you felt in that state house.
Amen. I agree.
And
so I was telling somebody on one of the phone calls, it was, gosh, you're going to run for House or Senate and all that. And I'm not thinking that. I'm just thinking if I have the ability, then I have the responsibility. Is it state? Is it local? More local than that?
Yeah. See, your personality though is a big player. Mm-hmm. I see you. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you would do because you like your free time too.
That's right.
But you have the personality of, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it big.
Yeah.
You just like
if I want it.
If you want it, right?
If I want
exactly.
it, right.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. It's totally fine. But having that conversation was: do I serve state? Do I serve local? It's it's a tough question.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to another politician here in Oconee, and he also is going to be a guest with us and just full of value. And he was like, we just need more godly people.
Yeah.
Whether they serve at the state or not, if everybody was just more Christ-like, man, we'd be much better off.
That is true.
So just a lot of stuff to think about.
Yeah. So I think religion's big. I'm not going to say you have a lot of people that don't believe anymore. But if you just had those values, whether you believed or not, it would do a lot of change.
That's right.
Right?
Well, we have an instruction manual, right?
Yeah.
God gave us an instruction book. It's called the Bible.
That's right. It says right.
If all we are to do is to love our neighbor, then we wouldn't do anything else.
Yep. Yeah.
Right? We wouldn't steal because we love our neighbor.
Right. Exactly.
We wouldn't kill because we love our it just Paul made so much sense when he said all that.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. I don't want to steal some of his glory because I'm definitely going to have that conversation.
It's going to be a great podcast.
That's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
And he's going to be on real soon. Do you want to step in here? Step in here.
You want to take a break? Let's take a break real quick.
Yeah. That'll be fine.
Pay some bills. We got a surprise guest.
A word from our sponsors.
Are you looking for the perfect vacation spot for your next adventure? Whether it's hiking beautiful waterfalls, mountain biking Stump House Park, wake surfing on Lake Kiwi, or jamming at your favorite concert, Megan Ketterman with Oconee Hospitality has beautiful homes available for short-term rental in Oconee County, South Carolina. Contact Megan today to book your next vacation stay at www.oconeehospitality.com.
Are you looking to make Lake Huey your destination? Work with local licensed expert Rhea Land Smith, your certified resort and second home specialist at Lake Huey Real Estate. Servicing buyers and sellers since 2013, Rhea is your local expert helping you navigate the real estate waters of Kiwi. Let Rhea make your life a vacation. Call 864-710-9547. And remember, land is her middle name.
We're back. Okay, we had a surprise guest pop in.
I'll let you introduce this guest.
Out of nowhere. And she's a great friend of mine. We met a couple, 5.5 years ago or so.
New Year's? I was there.
New Year's 20-something teen.
Yeah.
And on a blind date, she heard about the Lake House New Year's parties. And she showed up.
Was there a phone booth there? I mean,
No.
a photo booth? Not a phone booth. Was there a photo booth there?
No.
It wasn't that year.
No, it wasn't that year. It was after that. And then, after that, I asked her if she wanted to go on a date. And ladies and gentlemen, my bride, Megan McPhail Ketterman. How are you, Megan?
I wish I had applause over here. I'd hit the button.
How are you, Megan?
I'm good.
Good.
So we're going to have Megan on some other podcast in the future. She just walked in and it kind of fit because you were with this man at the State House.
Yes.
So I'm sure you've had some insights on what we're talking about.
Yeah, so she was out when I said the part about, I told Megan, I was like, I need to serve on a state level. And she was like, well, have fun in Columbia.
Yeah.
I'm not coming.
I would not live in Columbia.
And I can't, I mean, maybe not, but it's only from January to May.
I don't care. That's when you need your plane.
That is when I need my plane.
Yeah. If you
See, this makes sense for me to have an airplane.
it's all coming together.
Again.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, maybe. I would like to see him really find something that he's passionate about and go that route.
Yeah.
Right.
I was talking about the plane. How you felt about
That's
that?
what I was thinking about. I was like, she had a fit when I bought a new Ranger today. Like a fit.
Well, I mean, you don't need to.
That's
Nope,
right.
we're selling one.
So we're talking about the if you have the ability, you should have the responsibility. Megan is also an elected official here in Oconee County. So serving on the school board.
Doing a fine job.
Well, thank you.
Doing a fine job. And we were talking. So one of the things I meant to say, when you're standing in that room, even in Washington,
Yeah.
right? Washington more so than our state capital of South Carolina, but both times I'm in our Capitol buildings, and I just had this passion about, man, I just want to serve and make a difference for my
For everybody.
community.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
For everybody.
What I can't figure out is why we have people like Pelosi and Maxine Waters and all these other people that just are.
They just want to make.
I don't understand
Yeah.
their thought process. Like if you go into it and you lose your vision of why you started serving, right? then get out of the way,
Yeah.
right?
It's a control thing.
There's generations, many generations before them or after them, so to speak, that could serve and do a better job. And go ahead.
Don't you think, though, in those kind of. And listen, it's a tough job. So I'm not like discrediting anybody that does that, right? But don't you feel like it's both ends of the spectrum? It's never people in the middle. It's always the ones that either really want to help or the ones that really want control, right? There's nothing usually.
Or are really bought.
Yeah,
Because a lot of our politicians that
comes on the control side, I think.
but they start bought.
Yeah.
Right. This is what we were talking about before Megan got in about super PACs. Like, I think they just need to go away.
Yeah.
Right. And if you don't live in that county, then you don't get to give anybody that's running for an election money.
Yeah.
In that county. Like, or you're invested. There's a fine line.
It's a tough
and
deal.
it'll never, we're not trying to change that law. It'll never change. Right. But
Right.
I remember when Megan started running for her campaign, it was like, I got to buy signs. There is startup cost to run a good quality campaign. And we had James Myers on a couple episodes ago, who does a lot of the copywriting and writing, wrote a lot of the content for Megan. So Megan's really good about just throwing all her thoughts on a wall.
And he put them together.
And James is really good about just sorting them out and making them what they need to be. Megan ran one of the strongest campaigns that I've ever seen. If she wanted to be a president and ran that same campaign, it would be it'd be pretty impressive. So what were some of the struggles that you didn't see coming during your run?
Yeah, because you were running against an incumbent, right?
I was.
That was
Pretty well known.
Yeah, I mean, he was good himself.
Sure.
So it was a tough sell.
Well, and so let me back up and tell the story of, I was a classroom teacher for 6 years. I taught agricultural education. So what influenced
You were an
me
ag teacher?
I was.
Really? I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
PhD, baby.
Man. All right, go ahead. Sorry. I didn't
Yeah,
interrupt.
so I taught high school agricultural education, had, 100 kids a day, a hugely successful FFA chapter. I mean, we were top 5 in the country. I mean, it was a phenomenal program that I was blessed to become a part of. And so what that community did and those students did for me, I can't tell you, I hope they learned something in my classroom, but I know I walked away learning more from them every single day than I could have ever taught them. So I remember being in my classroom one morning and I got an email from my principal that said, "Hey, we want to bring the school board by your classroom today. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't have standards posted. I don't have my lesson plans written.
Shit, I got to sweep the floors.
I've got to, I mean, and in an ag class and an FFA chapter, I had 4 greenhouses. I had a whole garden. I have a nursery landscape area. We grew 1,200 moms. I mean, it was a huge, I had an acre and a half for these students to run around on. So when he emailed me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've literally got to corral these kids into their desks in the middle of class and try to figure out what to do with them.
That's not ag class though.
I know.
That's my opinion.
Well, it wasn't, because they were out there in the greenhouse. They were doing what they needed to do. And I'm just, trying to teach them lessons, the hands-on lessons that ag class is.
The ones they need.
Right. Well, so in my mind as the teacher, I'm like freaking out, like, oh my God, I've got to get these kids in school or in their class. In reality, what they were doing was he wanted to show the school board what real education was. And that's why he brought them to my classroom.
And you putting them in the classroom was not what he was wanting.
Right. Yeah. And so, I laugh about that now because that is what inspired me the most to want to be a leader for my education system and our future children. Because at that moment in time, I remember where I was in my classroom in 2010. And I said, that's the kind of leader I want to be one day. I will be on school board, wherever it may be. I didn't know I was going to end up back here at home in Oconee County, South Carolina. And it just so happened that life turned me that way. And I was blessed with the ability to come home. And in 2020, I was able to run. But I knew from so long ago that was my vision.
Yeah.
That was
when Megan and I met and we started having those, oh, hey, so tell me what your favorite hobbies are. And then like
what are your aspirations?
First date, I remember saying, we see you something in 5 years. She's like, I want to start on the school board. It wasn't, I want to be a millionaire. I want to be in real estate. I want to do something else in my life. I want to be on the school board.
Check.
And that was it. There was no other thing. And so now that that's done, you could ask Megan, what do you want to do next 5 years? I don't know.
I want to change kids' lives.
I want to stay on school board, though.
I will tell you, for me, my ag teacher was probably the most influential teacher that I had throughout high school. Mr. Morrison.
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely. And
for 100% of kids.
Well, and that is
in Oaxaca.
I would say that almost anybody that took 1 year of his class,
you bet,
would say that.
And that's the beauty of career and technical education, whether it be ag or automotive or culinary or whatever. Those are the classes that real world skills are taught in. And so all the things that you guys talk about that school failed you, yes, education does fail a lot of students, but they find that niche in career and tech education to learn people skills, to learn the value of a handshake and eye contact and, getting up from a seat and pushing it under, and the respect of, what to wear to a certain dinner.
How to cook a steak.
Well, yeah, I can. Yeah.
Did you take FFA?
I wasn't a member.
All right, I guess
you didn't have a blue jacket?
You don't take FFA, do you?
No,
you're just a member of FFA.
You have to join as part of the ag class or whatever.
I didn't.
I didn't either, but I made up for it because Lawton did.
Yeah, so when I didn't know much about FFA.
Yeah.
And then Megan, we're dating, and she's like, oh, there's an FFA conference, and I hadn't been in a while. Do you want to go? I'm like, yeah, I guess. Dude, it was like one of the conferences in my professional career. Like Aldine was pumping out, like kids just running around. And then the structure.
Super structured.
Oh,
the most structured. Maybe Jay, the ROTC, might be the only one that would compete.
Yeah, I would
was
say,
so impressed at what these kids were learning. And it's those kids that will be literally the next leaders of where we're going.
100%.
Well, and so what's ironic about my situation is I grew up on a farm, on a huge family farm in the area. I didn't take agriculture or FFA because I lived it. I wanted to be in a different profession, and my parents encouraged that. So I went a medical type of route, right out of high school. But even in high school, I stayed away because I just was so short-sighted as a teenager. We all are as teenagers. We look back and we're dumb. And so I then think back, I never got a blue jacket. I never got a chapter award or a state award or, any of those level of opportunities that I was able to see when I became an ag teacher. And
Well, that's because it's Future Farmers of America, and you're like, I'm already a farmer.
I'm not a future farmer. I am a farmer of America.
They changed the name, so it's now no longer Future Farmers of America. It's the National FFA organization.
Yeah, but what does FFA mean?
It did. I mean, yes, it was founded to be the Future Farmers of America, and I told my kids all the time, don't be short-sighted to think that this is not where you fit in. This is an all-inclusive organization of students, and I don't care if you want to grow flowers or paint pictures or be a photographer. I've got room for you in my classroom.
That's right. You might go on to be the next CEO of a bank. I think there's things from your ag class and FFA that they'll take with them for sure.
I think FFA does a better job of teaching soft skills than entrepreneurial electives in high schools today.
Yes.
Right.
Do they even have that in high schools?
We have an entrepreneurial,
Entrepreneur class.
What do they teach though?
Good question.
Not the soft skill part. And
it's more of the business side.
I've never looked at the curriculum. I'm not sure. I think it's.
We're old, but can we follow along? Is that something that we can do nowadays?
Well, you can call the teacher and say, hey, I want to be a guest speaker.
A friend of ours teaches that. So I could definitely ask her. And she'd be definitely willing to.
She want to be on a podcast?
It's things about business plans and,
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Marketing.
Yeah. I was thinking it'd be more the business side.
That's right. Financials.
But what Jared's saying, and we've talked about this in past podcasts before, is entrepreneurship is about relationships and those soft skills that we were just talking about, right? Yeah. That's how you meet the people that are going to teach you the things you need to know, right? You don't necessarily need to know. I mean, it's not a bad thing to learn business plans and just to see how things work. Mm-hmm. But where you really learn it is in the trenches. And the way you get in the trenches is you got to meet those people.
That's right. But going back to your question, I don't even think I started with my story and I skirted the question, but some of the challenges that I, encountered in running that I didn't even expect to was, when people call me, even today, and Jared is witness to this, when there is nearly an emergency in our school system and people are looking to me to find the answer and get their child the answer that they need. We are a governing body of policies and budget. The day in and day out job is of the administration and the building leadership. So I don't want to micromanage. I can't micromanage from a school board perspective, but what I can do is give children and their parents a voice. And I pride myself on laying awake at night some nights and something bothering me so stressful because I want to be their voice for them.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody?
Good for you though. That's what you should do. That's
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody, and take the title school board out? What would you say to somebody who was interested in running for an elected seat, whether it be city council, county council, a board seat for a company, or what advice would you give somebody that is looking to make a difference and get elected?
I think the first thing is somebody has to be so grounded in their why that you don't forget your why, even in the hardest of moments.
Won't waver. I mean, this is kind of full circle from what we talked about in the beginning, because
no doubt
you have city officials that run and they want to make the city their city, when in reality they should be the voice for the people who work, live, and operate in that city. That should be their job.
Most of our elected officials here don't own businesses within city limits. They do live in city limits, so kudos to them. Like, I don't care if you're a terrible elected official. You got elected. I respect your seat just because of that alone.
But you got to be a voice for everybody, not just because.
But you can't just pick your thing.
Yeah. Well, you can't just.
You've got to be open-minded to everybody's thing.
Yeah. You got to make it. You got to try to make it the city that for everyone.
That's why we don't have, and there's a big difference between strong mayor and weak mayor, right? So in some cases, strong mayor means that the mayor can supersede council. I don't even know why you have a council at that point.
Yeah.
Maybe just to give opinion. Weak mayor means he only gets a vote if there's a tie on both sides.
So a strong mayor, are they elected by council though? So that's the only control council has?
They're elected by citizens.
Or I guess appointed would be the way, because some of them are appointed by council, right?
No.
Our city council is
The
all
bylaws.
But in some cities, is it not like that?
The bylaws of the municipality are pre-written from way back when, and they figured out whether we wanted a strong mayor or a weak mayor. Mostly around here, we're a strong mayor government, or a weak mayor government, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There are some municipalities.
So there's tying vote.
That's it. So Are you going to run again?
Absolutely. 2024, Megan Ketterman.
I heard that. Have you ever had any aspirations, Kyle, to get it? Not just, I'd say get involved, but
I mean, it's tough for me because I work for local government. So like,
that's right.
You know, it obviously couldn't happen in its current state. You know, I think if things change, maybe possibly, but I don't know. I mean, I watch what a lot of our council members have to go through. And
have you ever made a phone call to a councilman for any reason?
No.
Do you feel that some of the decisions are dumb, and then
no?
Well, why didn't?
Because this is my personality. I don't make calls to councilmen. I usually, if I run into one or whatever,
well, you're in a different build.
Yeah.
You're in a different scenario than most people, right?
But what I usually do, because I'm not in it with them. I don't know what they go through on a daily basis. I don't know stuff that happens behind closed doors and the decisions they have to make. So what I do is it's always supportive, right? I almost err on the side of, hey, thank you for serving. Thank you for, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a thankless job.
It's a thankless job. And so I try to be that guy that just says, hey man, you know, y'all are doing a great job.
Yeah.
You know, appreciate your work. Even if I don't necessarily agree with some of the stuff they do, it doesn't matter. Now I would change my mind if it was like a huge problem, maybe. But I mean, even with me working for local government, you know, I got to kind of stay out of that. But if it was a different scenario, I'd be the same way. And if I felt like it was super bad, I might try to run or support somebody who was running.
If the state came around, and I'd say all of our listeners know that Kyle's a major YouTube guy, right? Pretty influential in that community. If the state of South Carolina want to regulate YouTube laws and how you post videos, would you feel the need to reach out to your local representative on that?
Yeah, of course.
Because it involves the direct business of what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're not scared to reach out. That's what they're for, right?
Yeah.
You just hadn't had a reason to as of yet.
Right.
Right.
Right. And it's kind of lazy on my end. It really is because
Sure.
I mean, you should always, you know, whether it's gun laws or anything that affects you.
Sure. And I know you're an avid hunter now.
Yes. Well, I mean, bow hunting, so which I would hunt with a gun too, but
Sure.
you know what I'm saying? Like whatever, if it affects you in a way that, and not just because I feel like everything, you have to have a reason. There has to be some thought in it, right? Not
Sure.
just because you want to do whatever. Like, but why do you want to do that?
Well,
why?
that's what Megan was saying earlier. Like the biggest thing is you've got to be rooted in your why.
Yeah.
Not what's in it for me.
So if it was,
but why are you running?
if it was really against my why, and I felt like it was gonna really hurt a lot of people in the long run, then yes, I think I'd be vocal about it. Now I have sent emails before
Okay.
around the car industry. So, you know, they're trying to pass laws federally about exhaust and modification of cars.
Sure.
Basically, they were saying that you can't, if it was ever a car that was manufactured on an assembly line and had a VIN tag, they tried to pass a law that says you cannot modify it, not even for racing. So you couldn't take a car that used to be a car and then just use it for racing. You know, even circle track
That's
around here.
current or that happened?
They tried to pass it.
That's insane. I've never
Yeah.
heard of that. That's insane. In the Midwest is huge on demo derbies.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be able to do that.
That is the epitome of
Yeah, so
modified.
they were
car.
basically trying to do away with all of that. Like if you wanted to have a demo derby, that you have to build the car from scratch.
Yep.
It couldn't be an original car from a factory.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it would have hurt all sorts of racing because everything comes from that, right?
So in other words, only stolen cars could be race cars
No,
because they wouldn't have VIN number.
oh, they took them off. Yeah,
Absolutely.
But if it ever had a VIN number,
Oh,
that's what I'm saying.
well, it's not what you know; it's what you can prove. So
There you go. I mean, like a NASCAR would classify because that was never a car; they just built it.
hey, Robert Duvall said it best. There's nothing stock about a stock car.
That's true.
Days of
Nothing.
Thunder, right?
Nothing stock.
No, that Toyota Camry
It's not a Toyota.
is not a Toyota.
No, I promise you that.
I'm with you.
First of all, Toyota doesn't make a V8. Well, I guess they do in the trucks, but they don't make a V8 in a car.
Yeah,
Them cars have V8s in them.
that's right. That's right.
So, I mean, like I said, I've sent emails. I used to be a part of SEMA.
Yeah.
And so they would send out these emails. Hey, they're trying to pass this law.
Yeah.
You know, basically it's a cut and paste. Send this to your local congressman or whatever. And, you know, let them know, let them know that you're, that you're aware of what they're trying to do.
Outside of your education realm, have you ever sent a letter to your local House rep or Senate?
Well, no, I went to D.C. and actually knocked on their door. And
I want to hear. I want to hear about your D.C. trip, or not your D.C. trip, your State House trip.
Well,
what did you think about it?
Yeah. This one?
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait a minute. I'm gonna back you up a little bit.
Yeah.
So you went to D.C., knocked on their door. What was the issue at that time?
Well, so I also served.
Give me a time frame of what this was.
Okay, so in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, all the way up till, I don't know, 16, 17, somewhere in there. So I've also served as part of our South Carolina Association of Career and Technical Education board. So as part of that board, as being an advocate for everything career and technical education, I got the opportunity to go and advocate for funding and making sure that our legislators understood the importance of federal funding, not only for the technical school system, but the high school post-secondary institutions, because that is what drives a lot of our Perkins. The Perkins funding is what drives the curriculum, and I mean, just all the nuts and bolts of career and technical education is that funding model. So that is driven down from the federal level. So what we would do is we call it climb the hill in Washington, because you're literally climbing so many steps and visiting with all of the legislators of South Carolina. So we'd go to Jeff Duncan's office, we'd go to Tim Scott's office, Joe Wilson, Will Clyburn. So many of these guys who had an impact to make sure that South Carolina's Perkins funding was protected for the high school agriculture programs, auto mechanics programs, all of career and tech.
Right.
So we would just go in, set up meetings, and maybe the legislator would be there, maybe their staff person was there, but we did have the opportunity one time to meet Joe Wilson, and he took us on a tour from his office, which was in one of the buildings. I can't remember specifically which building his office is in, but then he took us over directly to the Capitol, and he walked us in. They weren't in session, but he walked us in and said, "This is where everything happens in that State House or Capitol gallery." I mean, that's where the State of the Union address is filmed, and all of everything happens in this one Capitol building where Jared and I actually got to visit a couple years ago. So that is why DC has such a special place in my heart, is because a lot of things happen there.
It did.
No, it still does.
It did for me.
Yeah.
Like after all the bullshit.
Oh, it's still your capital.
I mean, it still is, but I just get really confused on how you lose the passion.
Yeah.
If you're ever in that room.
Yeah.
It is.
But if you do it your whole life and you had the wrong intentions, you have the wrong why,
That's right.
Yeah.
then I can see it.
So as far as Columbia goes, I love having the access. Like, I'm not any politician. I'm just a guy. Ran into our beautiful lieutenant governor at a luncheon or something. I've heard her speak at a couple things I've been at, but I got a one-on-one with her standing there. I got an ultra in my hand. She doesn't.
Yeah.
And we're just talking, and I just say, we ought to do lunch one day. And she's like, yeah, let's do that.
Signed up.
And so she grabs her assistant, Miss Saluda Zimp, who is more than patient with me to set this up. And she said, Miss Zimp, come here, make sure that Mr. Ketterman gets on my calendar. So I worked it out with her assistant. And just having the access to our state politicians.
Yeah.
It's great. So we set the meeting up after several reschedules all on me, right? And I was going there for really no specific reason, because
That's a funny story.
I thought she would say, "Oh, that'd be nice,"
Yeah.
and never say shit about it.
Yeah.
But she didn't.
She said,
Set the meeting up.
let's do it.
So never been to our state capitol before. I got the state flag tattooed on my back. Never been to our capitol. So I was uber excited about this trip. I told Megan, I was like, "You want to go?" She's like,
Of course.
"Of course. It's our state capitol. I've been before. I took FFA kids there."
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been to our state capitol so many
it
times.
was, Megan's just like,
Yeah.
okay.
Cool. You got a meeting.
But
Yeah.
but I do have some school board questions for her if we're in the room. So, but we won't get into the details of the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. But walked to security, and I'm looking at all the granite. I mean, these aren't small granite rocks, and this is not our original state capitol. our original state capitol, Mr. Sherman, destroyed in Charleston. So we've erected a new one in Columbia 100 years ago or whatever. But there's a statue of George Washington in front of our state capitol, and he's holding a sword, and half his sword is broke off, and nobody realizes this. But Sherman's troops broke it off when they stormed the original state capitol.
Yeah.
So when they put the statue back, they never repaired the statue.
They just left it like it is.
Super cool. Lots of history. Had a great Mr. Kelly. Gave us a great story. Took us past the velvet ropes in the House of Reps. One of the coolest
And in the Senate.
In the Senate, one of the coolest takeaways, though, in the House of Reps, and this is old stuff, right? They've been meeting there for 100 years.
If you're going to the sword, that was in the Senate chambers.
In the Senate?
Yes.
In the Senate chambers. That's right.
It's a good thing you brought her.
Yeah, no question. I'm not a politician yet. But there's a sword in the glass. And so when they start, help me out, May, when they start legislation
when they start session every day in the spring, there is a certain decorum and procedure that they go through. So our Senate President, Thomas Alexander, our great senator from Oconee County,
Great guy.
who presides over the meeting, is dressed in a purple robe, and he is entered into the chambers at that point, at the beginning of session, and the armed guards there hand him in white gloves a perfectly silver engraved sword. It is never touched with bare hands. They always
not
handle
armed
it.
guards like
It's the
not armed
master of
guards
arms.
like
Yeah.
security.
Yeah.
This is like the guy
Pomp and circumstance. guy.
that puts on white gloves
Yeah.
and takes a sword out of a locked glass case, holds it up to start the session. And when they do that ceremony, he places it in two hooks that is bolted to the main cabinet. When that sword touches the two hooks, it's so cool, it produces a current of electricity and lights all the lights up.
Starts it up.
Yeah.
That's rad.
It's just the pomp and
it gives me cold
circumstance.
chills,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because we're doing this since our South Carolina Constitution.
Yeah, and
conception.
I'm sure there's history in that, why they had a sword there.
Here's
Well,
what's
and
crazy.
the
Probably to
sword
protect themselves.
was actually stolen.
This is the best part. The original sword was made in
France.
1700
It
and
was
something.
dedicated to the state of South Carolina by the country of France. And in 1941, it was stolen or misplaced or somehow
Something happened. Somebody's got it hanging on their wall in their living room.
And
So-
there's a new sword.
So I'm thinking, I'm hearing this story and I'm going, man, I'm calling my boy Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
We're going on a treasure hunt. There's a story behind this sword. Somebody has this
Somebody
sword.
has it.
Like they had to,
They
somebody very uppity made a new sword just for our state.
I think the King of France may have made the second one.
I'd have to
or
go back to the
something.
history,
Yeah.
but the sword that is used is not the original sword, but there is an original sword and
Somewhere.
it's somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I'd love to go back and start interviewing and just do the whole process, like an unsolved mystery
Trying
kind
to
of.
figure out where it's at.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
And I did hear. I didn't get any of the details, but there is a sizable reward
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
if you find the
original.
sword. Like I'll never have to pay state income tax again.
I hear you. They would give you the reward and then charge you income tax. Or,
So if anybody is listening to this, maybe our contact in Russia, if anybody has any information regarding our lost sword of the state of South Carolina House
Yeah.
of Senate,
or even some interesting
Senate.
facts on it that we didn't mention. That'd be cool.
let us know. What I did learn after I did my own research was the original sword also came up missing, but they had found it. And so they weren't really worried about it. The state, as a state, wasn't worried about this sword being gone because it just somebody played a prank or whatever and returned it. Not this case. We've been like 60, 70, 80, 90 years without our original sword.
Yeah.
So crazy stuff. But the State House, if you're in South Carolina and you grew up here, you lived here, go to Columbia,
Tour it.
go to your State House. They got a little gift shop. Buy a coaster.
It's like we
buy
talked.
something.
It's like we talked about. You almost everybody should have to, and I haven't done it, so I can't. But I know the importance of kind of feeling our history, right?
You have to.
Where we came from.
That's right.
There's some bad things, but there's a lot of good things that we need to kind of continue to do. We don't want to lose.
That's right. That's right. And history always repeats itself. That's what they say in some aspect.
Well, I mean, this country is built a certain way, and we've got where we're at now because of the way that it was built. And I feel like we need to kind of keep it in the guardrails of that. You know, obviously some changes are fine, but the main guardrails need to continue to point us in the right direction.
Well, and my thought is that if kids aren't exposed to our state house, then they're not going to respect the authority and the policies and the procedures and the decorum of such a level of governing body. If we can't instill that into our children, then no wonder they're not, understand that civics and why this country was founded with a constitution and we have a state constitution. Yeah. No wonder.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people lose, a lot of young folks that are losing that now. They have no idea, how we compare, say, to other countries or what we fought for to be where we're at today.
What we sacrificed.
Yeah.
Who in our family sacrificed their lives for the definition of freedom. So
I think you were telling me about seeing what is that, the cemetery in D.C.
Arlington.
Yeah, Arlington.
Oh, if you don't cry when you walk through Arlington and watch the changing of the guards, you're not an American.
Yeah.
It
hits home. You realize how much sacrifice
it blows your mind. And I don't want to say what I love about Arlington. I've never been to a more perfect place.
Sacred. Yeah. It's very sacred.
Because everything is symmetrical. No matter where your eyes go, all the tombstones are in a line of some way, short or fashion. If from a drone aspect, it just looked like lines of tombstones. But as you walk down the pathways,
all the crosses are
everybody, it's all just perfect.
Yeah.
And then JFK's tomb is there, and he's got a flame that always is lit. Yeah. Just a lot of cool history there. Tons of cool history there. If you hadn't visited your state capital, no matter where you live, go. For no other reason, just to go visit where you're from.
Yeah, just to
and where your leaders are from.
Get enlightened.
If you hadn't been to D.C., regardless of who you voted for, go. Because this is the country that we live in. This is the country that gives us the freedom to have an open podcast to say whatever we want to.
Yeah.
Right? This is the country where we're at. If we were in some countries, we would have to underground this stuff and
be on the
somebody be busting down our doors and putting us in jail for some of the things that we're saying.
Yeah.
I don't ever take my freedom for granted. Ever.
Yeah. I agree.
No matter how bad it gets.
Yeah, I think if there was a North Star for me when it comes to government in general, it's freedom. It's like freedom first. Mm-hmm. And then under that, we can figure everything else out.
Yeah.
Right? And because without freedom, everything else goes kind of crazy. Once you lose your freedom, then you have no rights to any of the things below it.
Yeah, and we're not the only free country in the world, right? There's probably 40 or 50 other countries that have freedom, right? We're not all locked up under walls and being told what we can and can't say, right?
Right.
But this is where we live, and it's certainly one of the freest places to me.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm appreciative to be here.
Good one. For everybody listening that is doing any sort of public service, my hat's off to you.
Thank you.
It's a thankless job, like you said, and somebody's got to do it.
Yep.
So we appreciate you.
Honor to serve people who elected me.
Megan, thanks for stopping by the podcast today.
We caught her off guard big time. She walked in, sat down. We're like, hey.
She's like, you want me to do what? Which is
well,
fine.
maybe one day I'll get to come on and talk cattle and
we're going to do that.
Agriculture.
We could have 3 different Megans on.
Yeah.
We could have we could have Dr. Megan Ketterman on. We could have Cattleman Megan Ketterman come on. We could have School District Megan Ketterman come on.
I really want to.
Property Manager Megan Ketterman.
That's right. You've probably heard her voice because she's on the ad.
8 episodes. OconeyHospitality.com.
I definitely want to do the cattle thing.
Yeah. Greg Kutu is not going to outdo me. I plan to, if y'all do invite me on, I plan to bring you a steak taste testing. Okay? That's my thought.
All right. We're making that happen.
That means I got to buy a grill.
Cook outside.
Outside,
We're going to have an outside grilling.
Yeah, no doubt.
At the SouthCack Syndicate Podcast.
No doubt. Ms. Ketterman, always a pleasure seeing you.
Dr. Ketterman. For you.
I know that. What's funny is that's the way his phone reads when you call.
I'm so kidding.
She put it in there.
I did not.
You called one day and it laid up on his truck. It said Dr. Ketterman. I was like, really?
She put it in there.
Oh, you know better.
All right, good one.
Thanks, everybody. That's a wrap.
Well, thank